welcome to Creative Block. We're your host, V.
And I'm Sean. We interview people in the creative industries about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam.
We ask people on Twitter and Instagram if they have specific topics they wanted us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts.
Today, we have with us Sapphire Sandalo. A real spookiest guest that we've ever had, a real bona fide ghost hunter from the crypts of where are you from?
Los Angeles.
From the crypts of Los Angeles. From the thank you so much for coming on the podcast. For those of you that are like, what the hell is happening? It's not even Halloween. What is going on? Why are you sending shivers down my spine and making me shit myself in my computer chair right now? We are currently interviewing an animator / ghost hunter, Sapphire Sandalo.
Hello.
And I'd love to, man, where to even start? Where to even start with you? I'd love to learn a little bit about your start into animation, or sort of when you first felt like you were transitioning from a hobby artist into making a living doing it.
Yeah. So I went to LMU, Loyola Marymount University, and I majored in animation. I wasn't really sure like what I wanted to do with that. I just knew that I always loved drawing and I loved movies. So I was like, okay, cool. Animation is both those things. And then after I graduated, took a couple years before I got my very first actual job animating, which was on Mr. Pickles on Adult Swim. I don't know if
I
you
love
guys are
this
familiar.
show. It's so funny.
It's so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. When I was during the pandemic, I remember like my boyfriend was like, "Hey, do you know the show Mr. Pickles? Check it out." And like he put it on, and I cry laughing every time. Anyway, I love the show. I love Mr. Pickles.
Yay! I'm glad. But yeah, that show holds such a special place in my heart. It's where I met like a lot of my close friends, and like I learned so much about animation and stuff like that. But then let's see. So I forget your question. What was your question? Like,
well,
how
just the transition in between, like, you know, you're drawing as a hobby, and then like you start moving into having it as a career. Like, did you have a moment where you were like, whoa, like I'm a professional artist? Like, yeah, just sort of like what that was like.
Oh, absolutely. So like I mentioned before, I majored in animation, but then when I graduated, I was applying for jobs at studios, but like my skill level was nowhere near what it needed to be for the jobs I was applying to. And I realized like, okay, I need to like bone up my skills if this is like what I actually want to be doing.
Bone up.
And so I signed up for some classes at the Animation Guild, which were like amazing. And I learned, hey, I mean, I love my time at LMU, but like the classes I've taken outside of college have been so much more helpful. And I'm like, why? Am I the problem, or is it like the school? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like I learned so much after school, but maybe that is part of it. Like, you're in such a different headspace when you're learning and you're not being required to learn. Like, you're learning because you really want it. I don't know if either of you have ever felt that way.
Also, just like honestly, the Animation Guild has all these professionals that are like getting more and more active in the guild, and they're like very excited about sharing their knowledge. So you're getting knowledge from people that are like in the industry like right now, rather than sometimes I have noticed like when I was in school, we had a storyboard class, a single one. The people who taught it, I think they hadn't worked for a very long time. So you're getting like very outdated knowledge.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can also happen, I feel like.
Yeah, that was probably part of it. But so let's see, I graduated, and then for like 3 years after that, I was sort of working these like art adjacent jobs. It wasn't actual animation, but like I was still kind of getting an opportunity to be creative. Like I was working at, I don't know if you're familiar with FITM. It's the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising.
I was just thinking art adjacent jobs. Like, well, I work at a job next to a mural. I'm pretty close to some art. I'm a barista. You know?
Yes. Oh my God.
Sorry, it's so rude. No, continue.
I love it. I mean, I guess it was kind of like that. But like there were jobs where I still was using the skills I learned in school, just not in the way that I wanted to be using them. I was making like really fancy presentations and like motion graphics and stuff. But what I really wanted to do was like cartoons. And so let's see, what changed? I met up with one of my friends was like, hey, I know this animator. Do you want to like go get a drink with him to talk about animation? And I don't know if you guys ever had this, but like I feel like there's a point in your life where like everyone is trying to get you to meet people just because of like one thing you have in common, and like you don't know anyone else. So you're like, yeah, sure. So I met up with this guy.
Yeah, my friend is always trying to get me to meet up with other serial killers. And I'm like, just because we like murdering people doesn't mean we have to be friends.
Right?
Just kidding. I'm actively against murder.
Thank you for clarifying.
Anti-murder podcast.
Anti-murder.
So, oh my God, I love this. Sorry, what you're drawing.
I'm drawing spooky stuff.
Yeah. Like,
wait, is that like? Am I wearing? Is that me?
Yes. Yeah.
Am I? Yes.
Am I wearing like a
some
wedding
sort?
veil?
Well, I'm gonna make it black. Yeah, I've just held off on.
Veil.
I don't know what it is. I was just like, oh, it's like a black maybe it's like a funeral veil. You know, at the funeral when the grievers are all kept anonymous and then everyone takes off their veils and they're like, oh my God, you knew him too? It's a surprise. I don't know. No, that's not true. I don't.
What?
Listen, I'm just making stuff completely up. So if you want to just continue talking about
what you're
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I saying?
So you were talking about like meeting that person that was in
Okay.
animation. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it ended up being a night that legit changed my life, like no joke, because he was telling me about these people that he knew at Disney who were like our age. And this is at the time where like I had kind of like given up on like ever working in animation. I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe this just like isn't going to work out for me. It's been 3 years since I graduated. Like maybe it's just not like going to be my thing. But then he was telling me all this stuff about like, he's the one who told me about the Animation Guild. And he was like, you should like take classes and all this stuff. And I don't know, it ignited something in me. And I was like, yeah, I'll fucking do that. So I signed up for some classes. And then also at the same time, I don't know how either of you feel about vision boards, but I am 100% all in because at the time, my friend told me about vision boards. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll also do a vision board about animation. So I posted a bunch of like pictures on my wall. And then I took out my calendar and I looked at the dates and I was like, okay. And I counted like 2 months from that date. And I circled a day, March 12, I believe. And I was like, on this day, I am no longer going to be working at FITM. I am going to be a working animator. And I circled that date.
So a vision
on
board
that
is
motherfucking day. Oh, wait, sorry,
no. So I was just gonna say, so for those of our listeners who might not be up to date on vision boards are not what you go to for the eye doctor and they tell you to read what the letters say.
I feel like vision boards are like pretty well known now because I've worked on a couple animated episodes where like there was a vision board joke in them. So I'm like, I think people.
Yeah,
but you know what's crazy? I do agree with what you're saying because there was a year I was journaling. You know, I had one of those journals that were like very like goal-oriented journals.
Yeah.
And one of the questions was like, I don't know what you want to achieve, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I want to be a writer. Well, guess what? It happened. I got to write a script and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about writing it down, but I want to know more about how your vision board manifested things into your life.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, like it it's only woo-woo when people explain it in the way of like, oh yeah, like whatever you want, you just picture it and then you get it. And it's like, that's not it at all. That's not it at all. You also have to put in work, and also just to really believe that something will happen, like on a deep subconscious level. That's not easy. You know, like you can still have all these doubts and fears in the back of your mind, and that is kind of what's like holding you back in some way, in a way that you don't even realize is holding you back. And for me, that was me being like, I don't know if animation is ever going to work out for me, because I had been like struggling to find a job. So then what happened, I circled that date, and I was taking those classes. I was networking with people. I hate networking, but I was like doing all the stuff that like I should have been doing the entire time, like after I graduated. And then I kid you not, so I'm applying to all this stuff, and I found, of all places, I found a post on Craigslist that was like, we're looking for a 2D animator for a new show. So I like sent in a little application, and they wrote back and they were like, hey, this is for a new Adult Swim show called Mr. Pickles. And I was like, what? And so I did the test. And then like a couple weeks later, I got an email saying that they would love me to work on the pilot. And my very first day was March 12th.
That's so sick.
Isn't
That's so
that
crazy. That's so
crazy?
cool. I love that you found a gig on Craigslist. I think
Right.
I've
So
never even
random.
heard of that. I've never even heard of finding a gig on Craigslist.
Isn't that, yeah,
That's just
like
where you
so
get
rare.
robbed and stuff.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm surprised it ended up working out.
that's so
I don't know.
funny.
That's really cool.
What did you put on your vision board? I want to know, kind of like, was it like
yes.
pictures, words? Like, what did it look like? How big was it? I want to know.
Right. Oh, yeah. So I actually just used my entire bedroom wall. I didn't. You can like get a poster board and like put stuff, and that's what I have right now. Like, I update my vision board pretty, not frequently, but after I achieve something I want, that I update it. But like, and it's worked for me every time. Which I can talk about the second one. But for this first one, let's see. So I was told that you want to post pictures that every time you looked at it, it reminded you of your goal and it made you feel like you already had the goal. So I put pictures, like, it's so embarrassing. I like
holding
Googled.
a trophy. Photoshop the trophy into your hand. It says, got the job.
Yeah. I did do some like Photoshop stuff for like other vision boards I did. But for this one, I Googled like animator workstations at Disney and Pixar. And like, so you would see like their desk with all their like setup. I posted photos of like studios that I really looked up to, and also just like stills from animations that I've seen, and like it's just like hurt my heart because it's so beautiful. So I put like stills from that. So the idea is just that you're like surrounding yourself with these images that remind you of your goal, inspire you to continue pursuing the goal. And yeah, and then it like seeps into your subconscious that like this is going to happen. And so because of that, because you believe it so deeply, every decision in your life is going to direct you towards the direction that you need to go. And that's what happened.
I love it so much. Maybe I had a tiny vision board, which was a postcard of Bukowski at his typewriter. It was
Wait, who?
Bukowski.
Who's that? Mike Wachowski?
Yeah, Charles Bukowski.
Is Mike Wachowski the Monsters Inc. little Cyclops guy?
I just read that's not even his name. It's Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski.
So funny. Oh, I need to draw that though, Mike. Wazowski,
He's on your vision. He's on your vision board. You gotta draw that.
Wait, but who's? Oh no, do I sound dumb for not knowing who this person is?
No. Bukowski's he's like a writer guy, right?
He's
like,
and the editor on the podcast, Clements, always makes fun of me because she's like, "You won't shut up about Bukowski. I'm so tired of you talking about Bukowski." You
know what I will say is I've never known a woman to be the biggest fan of Bukowski. I always feel like it's like guys
he's
who
a
like
misogynist. He's an edgelord. He's like a very edgelord writer.
I always know guys who are like, live your life like it's an adventure and do a bunch of drugs and write and be immersed in the chaos. And
is that like his whole thing?
I don't.
Yeah, he was kind of like in the 70s, right? 60s, 70s, and just kind of like Oh my God, we shouldn't be talking about Pickles. We should be talking about
This-
Stop. But I just, Clem, you can cut that whole part out. I just wanted
Probably will.
Yeah.
She's sick of it.
I just want to just cut that out. I just wanted to have that running gag for the listeners that I had a Bukowski picture,
Oh my
and that
God.
was my vision board to land of writing.
Wow. I mean, it was relevant. You
It was
just
relevant.
bring it up out of nowhere.
But that's so funny. I love hearing all the details about your vision board, because I've always heard about vision boards, but the one I saw online, they're very like Instagram, like a woman on the beach, or like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't really know
Like
how
some cottage
those...
core ass shit.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know how these work, but once you've explained it the way you've done yours, it made way more sense.
Well, it's like
Right.
directing and manifesting your dreams into a concrete thing that makes it feel more real and you can look at. And so,
Yeah.
it makes sense even if you're not viewing it on a spiritual level or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's so great. That's so great. And so you found the gig on. How was the test like? Like, what kind of a test did they send you? Or like, what was the exchange? How did you feel writing that email to that Craigslist?
On Craigslist, like, what the fuck? Craigslist?
I don't know what I said. I think it was just pretty basic. I was just like, hello, here's my reel. And that was it. And then they like emailed me back and said, hey, I complete this test. And that was the first time I ever did a professional test. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I did it. It was a very short clip of like the sheriff saying something, and then he like scoots away on his rollerblades. And so I just had to like fill in in between it. And yeah, that was that.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
And you, at what point did you, because I know that your animation career also intertwines with doing some acting and voiceover stuff. At one point, you were the talking head person on Channel Frederator videos. And
I
right?
always forget about that.
So how did that happen? Or was that happening around the
my
same
God.
time? When did this happen?
It was. I think when I was at ADHD is when I was doing Toon Buzz for Channel Frederator. And I think that for those listening, ADHD is where I met Sean. We sat next to each other and we didn't speak a word.
No, I thought for sure she hated me because I was really loud and annoying.
Dude, everyone thought that I hated them, but like that's just me and my face, and also people being like, "Why does this girl not talk to anyone?" And I was just like, I don't know.
For those of you that are watching the YouTube video right now, her face looks like what I'm drawing. Her face looks like she's haunted and she's seen 1,000 deaths.
I love everything I'm seeing right now. This is like amazing.
That's such a funny one. So wait, did you first
Yes.
were you first at Fox ADHD, or were you at...
This was after Mr. Pickles, right?
That was after Mr. Pickles. Okay, so how did
Yeah.
that kind of like, how long were you on Mr. Pickles? And kind of like, you were an animator, right, on Mr. Pickles?
For the first 2 seasons, I was an animator, and then the 3rd season, I switched to production coordinator because I wanted to like switch it up. And then I ended up quitting because I got another job.
Ooh, what was the other
Because
job?
of my vision board.
Yes. What was the next job? How, I want to know a little bit about all of that. If you can tell us a little bit, like, what's a typical day like in the life of an animator at Adult Swim, and then a typical day of a production coordinator.
Oh my God, so different. Well, the thing is, so like the time between season 2 and season 3, I had been working at like other studios, Shadow Machine, and then there was like just a long ass period of unemployment. And it was during that unemployment period where I had started just like reevaluating my career again. So at that point, I think I had been an animator jumping around different places for like 4 years at that point. Like, so work had been really good, really steady. I was like, cool, I finally did it. And then just like 3 months went by, and it was really hard to like find a job. And then I really sat down with myself and I was like, oh, like, so this happens. I don't like this. Is this really what I want to do? And because I was unemployed, I was like, there's literally nothing for me to lose. So like, what do I actually want to be doing? So I I was like, let me try other things. And one of those things that I tried was being a production coordinator and like moving towards like the production side of things. Because my friend at the time, he used to be the production coordinator on Mr. Pickles, but he was leaving. So he was like, do you want to like do this job?
Just try it out. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, let me try it. So I did that. And then around that time is also when I was approached by my old professor to teach at LMU. And I was like, cool, another opportunity. So then I had like another job opportunity. And then also I don't know if you guys ever heard of this. It's called AfterBuzz TV. Does that ring a bell? Probably not.
I haven't heard of it before.
Okay. So it's this like YouTube channel. I don't think they do things anymore, but it was like this place where if you wanted to be an on-camera personality, like you can like build your reel there because they had like a bunch of shows that you could like you could host. And I was like, you know what, like I really like doing on-camera stuff and hosting. Maybe I'll try this out. So I went to the orientation, very quickly realized this was not for me, but I did end up meeting a woman there who, because I introduced myself as saying that I was an animator and I wanted to talk about the animated shows. And so afterwards she came up to me and she was like, hey, I work for this channel called Snarled. We're always looking for like new creators and stuff. Do you want to like do an animated show with us? And I was like, sure. So I pitched a show. It was called Something Scary, and it was basically like a web series where I told ghost stories and then I added like very basic animation to it. So I was doing those like 3 jobs at once. So I went from like having $0 to too much money and losing my mind.
Wait, so you were production coordinator working on the YouTube channel, and what was the other job? It was the animating. Teaching. Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah, I don't recommend doing that. I really like that. I don't know. Like, I mean, yeah, at the time I was so excited to like do all these new things. And then I burnt out like so fast. And so
how did you kind of pitch your show, Something Scary? Was it an email? Did you have a Zoom? Did you do a little presentation?
Yeah, just an email. Like she just asked. It was very, very casual. They were like kind of a new channel. Like they still only had like I think like 75,000 subs at the time, like very new.
Yeah, they were asking you how someone pitches a show. They were like,
yeah, basically.
Tell us how a show works, and you're like, neither of us know what we're doing.
Yeah, but yeah.
That's so interesting. That's really cool. So you just kind of wrote a paragraph. You're like, oh, I really like horror stories, and I'll just kind of like
basically. And then they ordered like 3 like sample videos from me, and so I like made those, and then those did really well. So they were like, cool, let's just like keep doing this. And then like after I think, I don't know, 5 months, like the show was really popular, and then they asked me to work for them full time. And then that's why I was able to quit the production coordinator job, because I was like, okay, I choose this other thing because it's more like closely aligned with what I want to do.
That's
but
what made you pick?
Sorry, yeah.
What made you first of all, like what you were pitching immediately was horror stuff. Did you have a period where you weren't interested in doing horror stuff, or when did you realize you were like, I mean, your whole life is about horror stuff right now. like at what point did you realize, like, you know, like Mr. Pickles is funny and horror, like I'm gonna veer off into ghosts and, you know, spooky stuff.
I mean, like I've always loved ghost stories ever since I was a kid. Never thought it would ever play a role in what I did for a living. I thought it was just like a weird interest that I had. And then it was actually when I was working at Shadow Machine on I don't know if you guys had heard this show, but it was called Greatest Party Stories Ever. It was on MTV.
I worked on that too.
Oh yeah, awesome. So I worked on that for a little bit, and I remember watching the episodes and thinking this would be really cool if it was people's ghost stories instead of party stories.
Mhm.
And then that's where I got the idea
That's
for
it.
That's
the
really
show.
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, and then it just like, I don't know, it got really popular, and then I just sort of leaned more into it because I realized like, oh, this doesn't have to be this like random passion that I have. I can actually incorporate it into what I do. Which is kind of cool.
No, that is
That's
really
so cool. What was kind of like up to that point? What was like your relationship to like the supernatural ghosts and everything? Was it something that you were like actively like researching, or was it just very much a
Your childhood
like
fascination, or
yeah, like kind of how big was it in your life, I guess is the question.
Let's see. Well, it was actually during, I think it was while I was working on Mr. Pickles season 1. So here's the thing, like I've always been really interested in like everything paranormal, like psychics and like astral projection, and like as a kid, like I was always like reading about all of this stuff. And I think for a period of time, like I had kind of forgotten about all of that. Like I think I was pretty like atheistic in that way, where I was just kind of like not thinking about anything paranormal or supernatural. I was like, I don't think anything exists. And then on one lunch period, like during season 1 of Mr. Pickles, me and my friends were walking around, and the office is in downtown. I don't know if you're all familiar with the Last Bookstore in downtown. Awesome place. So we were walking around, and then we came upon like the metaphysical section, and there was a book that was called The Psychic in You, I think is what it was called. And I pulled it out and I looked at it, and like I just remember having this feeling like, I feel like I need to buy this. So when I bought the book and I was like reading through it, and it sort of just like reignited my love for all of this. And so I would I would spend like lunch periods during Mr. Pickles like trying to read people's minds. Like it was just and then that's when I started learning tarot. I was just like going all in, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot how much I love this shit.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's sort of where I started like getting back into it.
what did their minds say? Or did you realize you were mind illiterate?
Stop. No, here's the thing. There were certain people that were easier to read than others. Like I do believe that like it's when people are more open to it, it's easier. And I was doing like these exercises where like you ask someone to think of a person they know, and then you just try to like see
And you're like, it's me.
like
And they're like, yep.
but you guess like their career, what do they look like, things like that. And like sometimes it would work.
Nice.
I was still very new at it, but it was very fun.
So it's so fun. I love that stuff too. I'm not very good at it, and I don't really like practice it a ton. So it's a psychic ability. It's
a skill,
very
like
small,
anything else.
right? Yeah, I feel like it's something that you have. It's like a muscle, right? It's like muscle.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm also incredibly skeptical, and so like when I kept hearing my like psychic and medium friends tell me that like literally anyone can learn this, I was like, bet, let me try. And so now like it's partly me trying to prove to myself that this is real, and like it kind of is.
Who's the most psychically swole person you've ever, like the strongest, the most girthy, strongest psychic that you know?
Let's see. First person that comes to mind is my friend Ranny. If anyone listening wants a reading from her, she's like legit. She does her readings all like donate what you can. And she can do them remotely. But she's amazing. Oh, you know what? There's this one other woman, my friend's mom, and I interviewed her for my podcast in one of the earlier episodes, and I went to her house and interviewed her, and it was kind of crazy because as I was talking to her, she would like answer questions I had in my head before I asked them, if that makes sense. And it was like weird. I was like, I don't know if this is like a weird coincidence, but like you seem to be like a couple steps ahead of me. And she was super cool.
Psychically swole.
Yeah, no, she was amazing too. Yeah, I've just met really cool people through doing my podcast, so
that's really cool.
All right, sorry for derailing. We can go back to
yeah.
Did you kind of like start your podcast in your, I want to kind of like imagine a little bit of like a timeline of like your career, like where you did you I when did you start your podcast? Were you still doing some stuff for Snarled, or were you like at ADHD kind of like, or was it kind of when was that?
Oh, I was working at Snarled for like 3 years, and then I quit in 2019 to basically just like become an independent creator. And I I encourage everyone to like pursue independent routes, especially if you are like if the stuff that you're making is coming from your mind and from your hands. Like if you have like so much of your like print on what you're making, it is usually so much more lucrative and just better in general to like be doing that for yourself. And also like my husband, he has a YouTube channel and podcast, and he was working for a company and then they like let them go, and they've been doing it independently for like the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And so like watching them has been really inspiring too, because I'm like, shit, like, yeah, you really can make a career on your own. You don't like need these like companies.
I love to hear it, because I feel like a lot of creators, especially when you start in the studio system, you're like, well, need the money, the steady income is really nice.
Right.
How did you kind of trust, or like kind of like what helped you take that leap of faith? Because there's a scary moment, right, when you go indie.
100%. So a couple things, and I'm very transparent about this. The number one thing, actually, wait, let me say that second. So the first thing is that like I have always been a very intuitive person. If I feel like I need to quit something, I quit. But then it usually works out. Like it's kind of weird. Like I don't know. It always works out for me. And then the other thing is that let's see. In 2019 I was married by then, and I told my husband, I was like, I don't know if I can work at this place anymore. Like I need a change. I don't know what to do. Like, I kind of want to quit, but like, is that stupid? And he encouraged me, and he was like, look, we can afford you to quit and not make money. Like he can cover me. And that's a huge thing. And I know that a lot of people don't have that privilege, but I always mention that because like that is a huge reason why I felt comfortable quitting. And then also another major reason is that because of the work I had been doing at my job at the time, I had the confidence knowing that like, okay, my work can bring in money. Like it's been proven at this place. So if I can just somehow get all these people who follow this channel to follow me over here, then like it'll work out. And it's been taking a while to like just get people over to like my independent stuff, but like I have faith that they'll find me. I've also not been really good at being as consistent as I was before, and I know that the algorithms like consistency, but I prefer quality over quantity. So that's why I do things a little bit more slowly, but that's fine.
Would you say like how is it like for you doing your own schedule and like doing your own how is like the transition from having somebody like telling you got to turn in something by now to like you being the only one accountable?
Yeah, was dabbling as a producer helpful in that? Were you able to be your own producer a little bit and schedule yourself?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I've always been a pretty organized person, so I like made a little schedule for myself. Made like, because it's really easy when you don't have someone else like breathing down your neck. It's easy to sort of just like let things slide or like procrastinate. So I was like, no, I can't let that happen. So I made like a schedule for myself. But I realized that I'm definitely one of those people that does not like people telling me what to do. And I know like there's people who they can handle it, like they're fine with it, and then I know there's a lot of people who just like cannot stand it, and I think I'm one of those people. So I definitely like working for myself in that way.
That's Yeah, I agree. I think that there is like a personality aspect to it where
Yeah.
it's nice to be your own boss kind of thing. Yeah.
But it definitely, it's like, it sounds so nice, but you also have to have like other skill sets that suit that lifestyle. Because I work from home, and I know a lot of people like can't deal with that. I fucking love it. I gotta
Yeah, I
hang out
love
with
it
my
too.
dogs all day, right?
Yeah.
But there's people who are like, I need to like get out of the house, and I'm like, no, 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 I never want to leave my house.
Yeah.
So
I relate to that. I feel like, it's nice to have your own little station and it's
yeah.
quiet and nobody bothers you and you can like
Yep.
get in the flow and just like ride that flow for a while. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Do you, how, if that's okay to ask,
Mhm.
how long do you feel like it took for you from the moment you decided to go indie to the
Mhm.
moment you felt like you were making like a decent amount of money, or like that's like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, that's a job I can keep doing for a long time now because it's
Oh, like when did I feel like that?
yeah, when did you feel like it was like,
Or like,
okay,
what was
yeah,
that
this is a
moment? You know, like
sustainable income,
Oh.
I guess, is the question.
I will say, so my right now, my personal stuff is not as lucrative as my TV appearances. So
Mhm.
it's like my goal is to eventually have my YouTube and my podcast support me so that I don't need like the other stuff.
Mm.
But now, because of all the like, I don't know if you guys are following the whole like HBO Max got bought by Discovery, and I am on a lot of Travel Channel shows, which is part of Discovery,
yeah,
and like my future there is a little up in the air.
Mm.
So that's been really frustrating. So now I'm like again reevaluating, like, okay, I should probably like just go all in on my personal stuff then, instead of having this be the side thing to the TV stuff. Wait, did I answer the question? But yeah, so I think it was when, let's see, because I quit that company, and then a couple months later is when I got the email from Travel Channel being like, hey, do you want to be like a part of this new show that we're doing? So it was like, once I quit that place, all these other opportunities started like coming in. And it always, and that's, I don't know. I mean, maybe that just works out for me, but like, I feel like I always have a really good like detector that like, I am like, I know when something's not working out because something better is like on its way.
That's so interesting because like so you had your channel on Snarled, so you were like a create like a it was a channel within a channel kind of.
No, it
And
was the channel.
oh, it was the
It
channel.
wasn't a an MCN, a multi-channel
Oh,
network. It was not that.
so,
what?
wait, so
That's so
so it's sort of like
crazy.
you were their content for a while.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
That's
Oh,
nuts.
oh, wow. And how did you get noticed? How do you know how you got noticed by the TV the TV people, I guess, TV people. By
It
Discovery?
was, yeah, it was from my web series. They
Wow.
had emailed the like company website, which is never checked, and so luckily like someone checked it, and they were like, yo, there's an email from Travel Channel, you might want to respond to this. And so they were like, hey, like we're starting a new show called Paranormal Con and Camera, do you want to be like one of our commentators? And I was like,
Wow.
yeah. And so I went in, and it went so bad because they sent me this like long ass document of all these like videos they wanted me to watch. And I was like, there's no way they want me to watch all this. And I went in, and they're like going through each and every video wanting me to like talk about it. And I was like, I didn't watch that one. I didn't watch that one either.
Oh.
And I was convinced they were not gonna have me back. And then 6 seasons later, I'm still on the show. So I think
That's
it
so
worked out okay.
funny.
Yeah, so
That's
for
so
those of
crazy.
those of you who may not be familiar, it's sort of the type of show where they show some paranormal activity and then they cut to either
Mm-hmm.
an expert or a comedian or something, and they sort of commentate on it a little bit. Is that
Yeah, like a clip show. So they have like people react to them and talk about like what could possibly be happening in the video. It's fun.
That's
Good
so
background
funny.
TV.
Yeah, that's so great. I mean, I think that's so funny. Like, do you know what kind of like looking back? what would you say went positively in this interview? Because you're just like, oh, I was so sure I didn't get it because I did watch the videos, but something must have gone right.
Yeah. I think like the videos that I had a lot to say about, like I was really confident.
Mm.
And they also they probably understood. They were like, this is the first time. And I know by the second shoot, I was so much more confident because I already knew what to expect. Like, I'm definitely a person who, like, if I don't know exactly what's going on, I flounder. But by the second time, I was like, I know exactly how this is gonna go, so it'll be good.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's really fun. That's really fun. And you've done like a couple of like different things. So that one you were just reacting, but then you went on another show where you actually go to place.
Yeah. So that was the one because they already had been working with me from Paranormal Con Camera. When Trvl Channel needed like someone for this show, they thought of me, and then that was the show I got after I quit the other company. So I was like, I'm good.
Nice. What was like? What did you? So I know you said you're in Mr. Pickles. You kind of like started getting back in the occult in like paranormal stuff, and were you kind of like a student of the occult? Like, is it something that you were just kind of like, okay, I have like my little study guide. I'm gonna like watch all these things and go down this rabbit hole. Like, what was your kind of? Are you just going with the feeling, or are you just kind of like, I'm gonna study this school of thought from these people from that era, or like what you know? What's your approach to that?
Becoming a paranormal expert.
Yeah, because I think that's so cool.
Thank you. I know I use the term like expert loosely because like you can't really be an expert in this stuff, but so like when I first started Paranormal Con Camera, I feel like all of my knowledge was very secondhand because I learn a lot from the stories that people tell me, and because of that I know like a lot about how the spirit world works, but I don't have really like firsthand experience. And so doing Ghost Town Terror, where I actually like had to go out and investigate, that was the first time I really learned more about like that, like actually immersing myself in it. And then also since then, like because of my podcast, I've met a lot of people who do a lot of different things, and the stuff that really appealed to me I got into. And I even have like a spiritual life coach, so she like mentors me. We meet up every like other week and talk about like how to develop like my gifts more, and there's like entities that like I work with, and
do you
also
have to invoice them, or what's it is there an HR for entities, or
no, they're like my buddies.
Okay. So it's like a friend working situation. That's always
they're
nice.
my spirit friends.
So cool. Can you talk about them, or is it like a little bit of like a secret pact?
It's a little secret.
Okay.
Like you don't like really want to talk about it like openly.
Okay.
Mostly because people think I'm insane. But like stuff has happened that I'm like, no, this is real. Anyways, so wait, what was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh, yes. Another thing that I'm like really excited about is sort of learning about the practices that like pre-colonial Filipinos practice. So that's something that I'm really interested in, and there's not a whole lot of documentation, and so the only way I can really learn about it is from other people, and in books if I can find it. So like Rani, who I mentioned before, she got me interested in like bone reading. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's another form of divination. So I've been practicing that for the last couple of months, and it's been like really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I do like I kind of just dabble in like whatever interests me.
Who's your favorite bone author?
Bone author. I will say I do have a favorite bone.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
what
This
bone
is
is that?
just as good of an answer. Let's go.
I think the name is a baculum. It's a raccoon baculum, which is like a raccoon penis bone, and it's like this long white one, and it's like the ally bone. So like all the other items that touch that bone, it's like these are the things that are going to play a role for you in the future. They're going to like support you and like stuff like that. But I like that one.
Is that one the most forthcoming? when you read them?
Yeah. That one, I love reading the stuff that's touching that bone. Yes.
That's really cool. Do you have do you have like different sets of bones of bunny? Like I'm thinking kind of like tarot, you know what I mean? Like how like I was doing a little bit of like tarot reading for some of my friends sometimes, and there was a moment when I decided to buy a tarot deck that was very, very minimalist, because I've noticed sometimes when I read with the like regular Rider Waite, like sometimes people get like really hung up on the cards. I'm like,
oh yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want them to flip out because they got like the 5 of Cups. So like I'll just get the minimalist tarot so they're not getting hung up on the drawings. But I was wondering if you have that with the bones. Like if you have like a set of bones that you're like, this will be good for this person, or like this would be
no. So I just have one set. I have this little box. And it's actually been really fun collecting all of these items. Oh, so I should probably explain what bone reading is. So there are some cultures where you only use bones, and then you put like markings on them, and then you toss them onto a cloth, or you toss them on the ground in a circle, like a drawn circle, and then you interpret the way that the bones fall and interact with each other. Like each bone has a meaning, and you interpret what that means. And the way that I do it, and this is the way that like I watched Rani do it, she kind of collected like all of these different trinkets. So I have like little, I don't know if you know, like Guatemalan worry dolls. They're kind of like these little tiny like people. So they all represent like different people. I have like little shells, buttons, beads, dice, like all these like different things that mean different things. And so when I toss them onto a mat, you know, the way that they fall all means something different. And it's like kind of wild. Like it took me a very long time to get comfortable with tarot, but this I like was getting stuff instantly. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because it's definitely, it's more, because it is more about your intuition. Like they say that you let the items teach you what they mean. And so the more that I do it, the more comfortable I get. But it's been really fun. Like people have cried when I've given readings. Oh my gosh, if either of you ever want a reading, seriously, like for real, just like let me know and I'll do it on like Zoom or something.
That's amazing.
Because it's like so cool.
I love getting readings. This is one of my favorite things. I'll hit you up.
Yay!
That's so fun. Yeah, I do agree that tarot is very like almost scholarly, because there's like all these different philosophies and school of thoughts, and it's a little bit more like you have to learn this tool according to this. Like
like there's a lot of like rules, but I feel there's a way to do tarot without getting caught up in it. But yeah, it is definitely a little bit more difficult.
I kind of want to talk about your channel again, and how much time would you say do you spend making content for your channel? Do you have like a goal? What's your relationship, I guess, to like maintaining your channel?
Yeah. So right now the schedule I have, I guess I'm gonna start doing like the hybrid animated videos again soon. So like 1 week I'll do those, and those videos maybe take me like, I don't know, 3 to 4 days to complete. And then on the next week I'll put up a podcast, which takes a little less time, like maybe like 3 days total. And then so they alternate.
And currently, are you doing everything on them, or have you started working with an editor, or have you split that up?
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
Hands on.
And you know, I think at least for like what I'm doing right now, it just makes more sense for me to like handle it, because I did when I was at the other channel, they started hiring like, because I was like, I'm burning out, and like they're like, let's hire help. And then I was like, there's so many things where I was like, if I just like did this from the beginning, it would be so much faster, instead of like, you know, giving it to someone, then I have to listen to like 30 minutes of a thing and give notes and then listen to it back. And I'm like, I'll just fucking do it, you know? Like, that's sort of like my attitude about stuff. So I hope, my goal is to eventually like hire help. But right now,
did you have trouble as a kid not sharing?
Oh Oh my god. Actually, I'm like, I think I did. I was an asshole as a kid. I made a girl bleed at like a
What?
kindergarten party. Should I
She
not
tried to
say
edit
this?
your
Whatever, I'll say it.
podcast, and then
So
Exactly.
when you were a little
funny.
kid.
Oh my
Okay,
god.
everybody now has to say one thing that they did terribly wrong when they were.
Okay, so you're not the only one. One time, so one thing I used to do when I was a kid is I used to tell on myself all the time.
What do you mean?
Anytime I did anything wrong, I had so much guilt, and I couldn't live with any amount of guilt that I would tell on myself immediately, even if what I did wrong wasn't fucked up. But I was also a clumsy kid, so I would, for instance, I would like run through my friend's screen door and just push through it and break through the screen. And it happened like 3 times, and each time I would go up to his dad and be like, Mr. Greenwood, I think that I'm not sure that if I did it, but I have a feeling that it might have been a dream, but I think that I may have broken this. Well, I'm not sure if it was me. It might have been. I think I saw myself do it. I might have broken
my
the
God.
screen door, and that's exactly how I would do it every time. I would like try to like I'm not sure. It might not have been. It might not be broken, but maybe it might be broken. I might have done it, and I should do this over and over and over. Like I would break their banister, or I would break their ceiling fan. I was that kid that like would yank on the light to turn it on, the little string, and just break it off immediately, and then I would have to go tell on myself. And if I waited, it was often like I would like come into into the living room when my parents were watching TV at like midnight and be like, I today at school I said something to a kid, and I think that it might have been a dream, but I think that maybe whatever, like
Oh my
I love that you're like,
Yeah.
it might have been a dream. Like you didn't
No,
want
I used to say that. I was like, it might have been a dream. I can't remember if it was real or not, but I'm pretty sure that I slapped Christopher when he said he wasn't my best friend in school, and
oh my god.
the teacher did yell at me, I think.
Sean, do you feel like you're still like this? Has that carried over to your adulthood?
Yeah, I have a hard time lying. I'm pretty
Yeah.
upfront. That's also how all my romantic relationships have been. Like if I'm like dating somebody and like I know very fast whether it's something to continue or not, and I like some people can like let it go on forever and they're just like wishy-washy about it. I'm like one day in or one week in, I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I think
Wow.
it might be a dream, but I think that maybe I might not be into you, but maybe I might be, but no, I think that I might have not be into this anymore. Goodbye. And yeah. So
That's so
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but it's probably influenced my moral code. the moral code I live by. It sounds like Dexter or something.
That's so funny.
KV, your turn.
I don't know. I feel like I have a couple, but I'll just tell this because I still sometimes like feel bad about it. It's like I think I was around like 6 or 7, and it was just me and my little sister and my grandma. My grandma's like really nice. She's like one of those like like May 68, where like it was like all the revolution. I don't know if I think it's maybe a little different between here in the States and in France, but it was basically like the 70s, like Woodstock, like female power. She's a super Christian, but she's like the liberal kind of Christian. So she's like, yeah, like, female power and stuff. But she's also very Christian. And so she was like, oh, like this new church that opened and I really want to see it. And she took me and my little sister to it. And I was like, it's like an empty church. It's like boring. It's just like white plaster and just like boring wood chairs. And there's like a crucifix, like huge crucifix with Jesus on it. And she was just like kind of like looking around, looking at the windows and stuff. And it was just then it was just like me and my little sister in front of the crucifix. And I was like, hey, what's this? And then I like,
Oh my God.
blue raspberry at Jesus. I was like, bleh, look, I'm so edgy. And then my grandma saw it. And she was like, what did you do? It was the first time ever I saw her be like really mad.
Because
She
that's
got
what
really
Judas
mad at me.
did. He blew a raspberry at Jesus when
I
he
know.
was on the cross.
I was like, and I felt so bad because I didn't really get it. I was like, okay.
That's like the most
My-
innocent, like little kid did something wrong story I think I've ever
Right.
heard.
No,
like
but
I
for
blew
me,
a raspberry
really
at Jesus.
no, but it's like for me, I just didn't understand. I was just like in my little child brain, because my family isn't very religious. Like we almost never went to church. So I was just like, who's this guy on the crucifix? He thinks he's so interesting. But even
He
though
just
he's
wants attention.
literally dying.
He's just hanging up there. He just wants attention.
Yeah,
He's doing it for
he's
attention.
exactly. It's like he's literally dying, and I'm like, he thinks he's so And now I think back on it, I'm like, I was such a little psycho. Like, you know what I mean?
It's still pretty innocent. I mean,
it's innocent,
religion
but it's
is
like, you know what I mean? It's like,
hard for a kid.
yeah, it's just like, you know, you're just like almost flipping a finger at someone who's not.
Yeah.
It's like, anyway, that was my bad kid story.
Wow.
Like,
I love
ooh.
it. Thank you for sharing,
So,
everybody.
Do you feel less awkward now that we've shared our I didn't really share like a bad thing I did. I just shared how I dealt with bad things. But
well, you did tell us that you slapped your friend because
I did do that.
He did. He said you weren't his best friend.
Oh my God.
So now we're all
feel a little better. Feel a little better.
Right. Oh man, you know.
Oh my God.
What?
Sorry, I'm just looking at the drawings now. That's amazing. I love how I look like I have a toupee.
Yeah, it's just plopped on the top of your psychic ass swole head.
So funny.
Oh my God.
Hey, for those of you that are listening on Spotify, I drew Sapphire with a huge swollen head with big muscly arms who just punched a man. She's saying, "You are thinking, ow, my face." And she has like her hands on her temples thinking psychically. And the man says, "Oh my God, how did you know? How are you so psychically swole?"
Oh, did you know you can upload videos to Spotify now?
Really?
Yeah,
shit.
like if you want, you can just post this whole video of the drawings like on Spotify.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's so crazy. Okay, so for people listening, I feel like we've learned a lot from Sapphire about podcast stuff because we've also learned that Adobe can make your audio sound better. So now there's no excuse for us to upload some shitty sounding yeah.
Sapphire,
There are limitations, though.
Sapphire is our podcast and spiritual mentor. For the
That's all I
block.
ever wanted to be.
Do you so for your podcast versus your channel, so you're saying like the channel takes like maybe 3 days of work and the podcast a little bit less. Do you feel like you have what's the question, like how much pressure do you feel to upload, and what do you feel is a good like amount of uploading, I guess? Like do you strive for a specific consistency? What's your
so when I was working at the other company I was at,
the company that
I
should
was
not be named.
which I've named like a million times. I was doing a 5 to 9 minute video, like animated video, and a 30-minute podcast every week. So it was both of the things every week.
Wow.
And even with help, I still felt very burnt out because I found myself giving so many notes because I'm so used to just doing stuff on my own. So like I was just getting really frustrated. But it was so exhausting just because like here's the other thing. So like my ultimate goal is not to be the person who does the art. Like I have learned that my my strength is in the storytelling. And I think once I recognized that, that's what helped me like figure out what I want to do with my life. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I need to lean into the things that I'm like really good at instead of like trying to be better at a thing that may not come as naturally to me. So anyways, wait, why did I bring that up?
It's very self-aware of you, by the way.
Yeah, because we were talking about like a little bit like consistency and like upload frequency.
Right. Yeah. And so I don't know. I feel like that is really important for like anyone who's creative to figure out like, okay, like what are your strengths, and then like, because once I have enough money to hire someone, the first thing I'm going to hire is an animator. I want to hire someone else to do all the drawings. That way I don't have to like think about it. I can just like write the stories and like figure out like the pacing and all that kind of stuff, because that's more fun for me. So because I burnt out so much on that schedule, when I was doing stuff for my own channel, I was like, okay, I'm definitely not going to do that. So like what feels more comfortable for me? Like what will make me hate myself? And I was like, okay, let me just start with like one animated video a week and then a podcast the next week and then alternate between them. And that's been working out really well. Because like even though it only physically takes me like 3 or 4 days to work on them, the thing that takes a long time for me is like sourcing the stories or writing the stories. Like I have to take breaks from that. Like you can't, writing is not something that you can just sit down and be like, all right, I'm gonna write this thing, you know? Like it
can be emotionally draining. Yeah, I've been going through that recently.
Yeah, exactly. So like I account for that. So like it really actually can take me more than like 3 or 4 days to work on something because I take so many breaks from it, because I have to like keep coming back to it. So yeah. So right now I have struck a schedule that works for me. I know that the algorithm doesn't like it, but this works for me. So I'm going to do that until I don't know, maybe I'll change my mind and be like, yeah, let me do one every week, and then lose my mind. But right now, no.
No, that's great. I love that. I love to hear creators say to like take care about yourself first, and when the content I used to feel like, I don't know, you have to upload, you know, to the algorithm's whim, but it's also like, but then like the quality takes a hit, and it's like, and then you're not happy, right?
Exactly. And like for me, I need everything I do to be a banger, because I want like, you know, if someone to like click on a thing, that's their very first impression of my thing. And if it's a week where I wasn't like feeling it, I don't want someone ever hearing that. Like, what's the point then? Like I never really subscribed to the whole like you got to put stuff up to put stuff up, because who is that serving? What is that serving? Nothing.
Well also, I mean, some of the point of working for yourself is being able to control that and not be miserable, you know?
Yeah.
I like that you were talking about well, who is that serving to upload something no matter the quality. It's kind of interesting because we've had a guest in the past who like used the deadline as a way to keep themselves accountable. And I think it's interesting to hear the two different sides of that. And I guess it kind of like makes me think about creative block in the way like, do you experience it? Yeah.
Name of the podcast.
Do you experience creative block? If you do, what does it feel like for you? And how do you deal with it?
Okay, so for me, whenever I feel like I have a block, I go and do something that has nothing to do with what I've been doing. So maybe I'll take a walk or like train my dogs, or I'll like put on a
to do what? Hunt ghosts? To what? to bark at ghosts? To read bones? To get the bones that you read? Go kill something to make more bones. You have a bone deadline.
My dogs have tried to steal my bones so many times, so I always had to lock them out.
Really? That's so funny.
Yeah, it's so annoying. I'm like, please stop stealing my bones.
Cartoony.
You're such you're such a dog producer.
Such a stereotype. I'm like, guys, please. But one of my dogs, I'm pretty sure, sees ghosts. But that's not what
Oh.
I'm training him for. I'm training him to not be so annoying. But
But part of
he's
the
a
reason why he's
regular.
annoying is that he sees so many
There's so many
ghosts.
ghosts.
Maybe
I know. I know.
it's very distracting for a
baby.
dog,
You really? I'm sure it is.
especially if it's a ghost with a ball.
Ball ghost.
A fetch ghost.
But yeah. Wait, what? Did I answer it? The question?
You were like, oh, doing something else, like kind of like training your dogs, going for a walk.
Yeah.
Well, also, you have so many different things that you do that it seems like if you're stressed out about one of the things, there's probably another aspect to what you do that you can dab. I mean, it seems like you've turned all of your hobbies into different parts of what you make. You make videos, you teach, you research the occult, you literally hunt ghosts. And so does that help that you've sort of like diversified and you can kind of play? You've set up this playroom that has all these different hobbies and things. Does that help with the creative block a little bit?
Yeah, I would say so. Oh, you know what though? I will say that once, because I think I haven't really like dove completely into occultism until like the last, I don't know, like 5 years. And I'm not kidding, like I have never been more inspired by like the weird shit that happens to me. Like like
I mean, you know
like,
that we can't just let you say that and then not give examples. I know that you don't want to sound crazy. but yeah, but you know, if you have some interesting experiences that you can talk about, I'd love
oh my
to.
gosh. Yeah, so like the well, so for people listening, my podcast, I focus primarily on like non-fictional stories, so people sending me stuff that like happened to them. The YouTube channel, when I animate stuff, that's more like fictional stories. And like I get the most inspiration from the weird things that happen around my house or like with me and my friends, because we're all like into this kind of stuff. So like there's a little girl who lives in my house, like a ghost girl, not just like a little, I don't have like a renter who's like this 9-year-old girl, but it's like a little girl that like multiple mediums have seen and they haven't like corroborated with each other. She's someone that I think I've seen when like I was doing a meditation and I didn't know like that was her. My dog has barked at her one night. So like just a bunch of stuff that happened and like that. So like things like that where like someone told me that like this girl uses the mirrors in my house as a portal to like come in and out. And she was like, she's like, you know, the little girl herself is not harmless, but because she's so innocent, she might bring in something with her that you don't want. So you might want to close those portals. It's like little things like that. And it's just like, that
crazy.
inspired a bunch of like story ideas for me.
Yeah,
you
tell her like, what are you raising a barn? Close the damn door. She's running through your screen door and breaking it, and she's like, I think I might have maybe run through your portal.
It might have been a dream.
It might have been a dream. I'm not completely sure, but I maybe might have run into a portal. I'm not sure.
Oh my God.
This is my favorite excuse now. I'm going to use that all the time.
Dude, I'm so.
It might have been a dream.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's
because
amazing.
I my whole life I've always had waking nightmares and waking dreams, and so sometimes things.
Wait, you have?
Yes, and I still have them all the time. But for me, they are like I wake up and I can move. It's not sleep paralysis. I wake up, I can move around, and I still see all the things in the room, and I can move around them in 3D. And then they go away when I turn on the lights.
That happens
crazy
to me too.
Yes, so like literally, so like I've had experiences like I'll wake up and I'll look up and it's like I'm in a video game where it glitches and I can see an office building up through the floor. And I can see people working. And then if I move my head to the side, it turns into my ceiling. And if I move it slightly to the right, it glitches out and you can see through the floor of an office building. Or like I mean, most of them are scary. Most of them are like a woman made of binary code floating above my bed, shadow people in my room that I try to fight. I've had I think one of the scariest ones for my partner was that there was a fan next to our bed, and I woke up and I saw that her necklace was caught in the fan and it was
my
sawing off,
God.
it was sawing off her head. So I started
Whoa.
ripping the necklace off of her neck, and I scratched her neck, and she got very scared. But I was like, I saved your life. like don't get mad at me. I saved your life. You carelessly left it dangling in that fan and it started sawing your head off. Don't get mad.
Whoa.
You know, but you know, like they're auditory too. I'll have ones where
Yeah.
like I'll when I was a kid, there would be like big alarms, like everything would flash red, and it's like air sirens, and then I would run down and sleep on the couch, and I could still hear them in the distance while I was like trying to get back to sleep. Or so I have auditory ones like I'll wake up and it'll sound like my friend is trapped inside of the wall, and I'll try to like get him out for a second with like a pen or a screwdriver or something, and then I'll realize like, oh, he's not in my wall.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
So when these are happening, is it like you're able to like walk around?
I'm
and
able
get
to
up?
walk around. I'm able to
Okay.
do
And then
things.
everything looks exactly as it does like in real life. Right?
Everything looks
other than the weird stuff.
It's my eyes are open. I can see everything in real life, but things are added to the room, and
Right.
and they like move and manipulate in real time. Like I can walk around them, like
Yeah.
and walk in the room, and I still see them.
How often does this happen?
It's maybe it happens more when I'm stressed, but I would say maybe every 2 weeks, something like that.
Oh, so frequently.
Yeah, I think that they've started happening a little bit more recently, but then before that, it was maybe once a month, and sometimes I don't remember them. Sometimes it'll just be like
Yeah.
I like startle up in bed and I'm like, oh, and then like my partner and then Denise is like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, the most recent one is I'll draw it on the canvas so that you can see, but like I woke up and my partner was like, what's going on? And I just went like this
Oh my God.
at her.
Oh my God.
And like I was like, huh? And like just like complete fear in my eyes. And I'll draw the basically.
So you're moving around, like she can see you moving around.
Yeah. I am moving
You're not, like,
around
lying
in
down
the
on the
room.
ground.
I am a little
So you're like
fucking
sleepwalking,
animal
kinda.
running around the room, but I can see what I'm doing and I'm aware, and I can sometimes in the middle of it I can ration my way out of not believing that it's true.
What do you consider is happening to you? What do you like make of it?
I think that it's sort of like I have sleep paralysis, but without the paralysis part. I think that I can see things that are added, but I'm awake and it's mixed up in my head. And so I believe that I just have, I think there's also maybe something in my brain that is a little bit more like spatially imaginative than maybe what some other people can do. I think that there's maybe a reason why I can like draw somebody from any angle, or like maybe there's like some sort of spatial thing that I'm able to do that just as far as creating or imagining something. But I mean, I don't know. I've never. It's actually been one of the things that has made me skeptical in the paranormal, because I know what my mind can do. So I've always just assumed that like most sightings of ghosts at night or whatever are some form of your mind playing tricks on you, like mine. But I don't know. I've you know.
Here's the thing though. So I feel okay, let me see how do I say this without being like, so I think like even when we explain the supernatural or the paranormal as things that are coming from our mind, that actually doesn't make it less real, because all of reality is stemming from our mind. My reality is different from yours, different from yours, different from yours. Like our brain is literally creating reality, and we know like we know this for like also just like our bodies are a simulation device. Like we're going to all experience reality differently.
We're creating
And
our
so like
perception, like our eyes are creating the things that we
right.
see, and our
Mm-hmm.
minds interpret
Mm-hmm.
it in a certain way. Yeah.
Exactly. And so like there like I think we all tend to see like the world as like things are outside of me. Like this is a laptop, this is like a box of cards. Like it's not like connected to me, but it is still like coming from me because I am perceiving it like from here. And
Mm-hmm.
so like it's not that like if you see a ghost like, oh, well, it's just like from my mind. But like the fact that it happens to multiple people, then it's like it's not saying that ghosts aren't real. The phenomenon of our brains being able to perceive these people floating around as if they're a separate person, like that's a very real thing. So like, I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but like for you, you know, like that the experiences that you're having, even though they're taking place in your mind, like no one else is observing this reality, like it's still happening though. You know what I mean? Like I
Sure.
don't
I
know.
mean,
Am I
that's
sounding
what.
crazy?
Okay. Here,
No, I
listen.
think it makes sense
Yeah.
because it's like it kind of like if I tie it down to a school of thought from philosophy, I think it's called feminology, where basically it's the school of thought where it's like what you're saying is like what your experience and your perception of reality becomes reality because it is like how else can you describe reality? It's a little bit like the Matrix. It's like, you know, like there's a moment what you're experiencing in your mind when you're like in the egg. That's
Yeah.
a version of reality. And then they wake
Right.
up out of the egg and that's another version of reality. But
Mm-hmm.
it's their realities because they're being experienced by the person who lives it. And I think there's it's valid because like you said, like the person who's living it and experiencing it, it's their truth in the way that they're not lying about it. So why wouldn't
Right.
it be real? It's like it's
Sure.
real in their experience of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it happened. It was just
Yes.
we don't have the vocabulary
Yeah.
to understand why or like how to like to really like describe it or like figure out like what it is. But that doesn't mean it's not happening.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's sort of like where I come from. Like if I'm not trying to make like anyone a believer, even though that is the whole point of my podcast. But like I feel like there's more. What's the word I'm trying to say? Like paranormal and supernatural things actually happen more frequently than people like to believe. I think like because of horror movies and like TV shows, we think we have a very specific idea of like what that means. Like, oh, ghosts and demons aren't real. But then it's like the more, and this is something that I personally have been learning over the years, which is also very strange because like I grew up Catholic, and the more that I dive into like occultism, the more I understand Catholicism, which you would think wouldn't make sense. But like I realized that like these
The
are
things
all
that they
just
were
like
trying to
ways.
explain, like,
Right,
even
and
if
it
they're
just
explaining it in a
doesn't.
different way, then yeah.
Right. And I mean, as a kid, you don't understand like what? How can like three people be one thing? You know, like the like God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. But that it's like just like it's symbolic of like the lower self, the middle self, and the higher self. Like we all have like the mind, our body, and our instincts. Is that what it is? Yeah, I think I got that right. But like it's all just different ways of explaining the same things, but it doesn't make it less of a real thing. Anyways, that's it.
No,
I appreciate your
I like
perspective.
listening to that. I like that a lot because I feel like what you're saying is very true. Like for me, I feel like when I went on this little like I don't think I dove as deep as you did, but like for my little like tarot journey, like spiritual journey, I also felt like like you can only get so much out of a non-spiritual life. Like if you're somebody who like doesn't practice any kind of like religion, which is like kind of like a spiritual practice, right? If you're like a hardcore atheist, then the parameters that you use to understand life are going to be coming from philosophy, like maybe history, maybe like psychology,
I think it's
sociology,
sort of
like
like
that
we
you
find
you
different things
know
to worship, even if we don't want
Yes.
to. Like we're finding
yeah.
different things to put
Mm-hmm.
all this meaning into,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and like for me, it's like, like I could say that cartoons aren't real, but
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
if I devote all my time to it and I'm manifesting these things, these ideas come to me from nowhere or somewhere or whatever, and then I manifest them and I make them, and that has an effect on people. Or if I have like,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm working on a sad drawing and it makes me sad, or it
Mm-hmm.
helps to relieve sadness from me, those are real things that what people would call a fake thing is doing to me. And it's and that might not be like hey, this thing is like a spiritually evil or neutral or good thing or whatever, like that you would normally identify it and try to sort into categories in different religions or whatever. But like, I don't know, like what is real, and like you were
Yeah.
saying with the vision boards in the beginning, like
Yeah.
you are
Mm-hmm.
using a thing that you make to motivate you and change your mind to be
Mm-hmm.
in a different state. It's like you're externalizing a goal to perpetuate it inside of you. And some, I guess some people could call that some sort of magic, that you're manipulating
Mm-hmm.
your emotions or whatever. But I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like most people are just trying to figure out different ways to explain some
Yeah.
weird shit they saw or some weird thought they had, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I would love to go back to the example you said of cartoons. So, are you familiar with the concept of a servitor or an egregore?
Mm-mm.
I'm not. I want to know more.
Yeah. So, oh gosh, I hope I'm not wrong in my details. So, if anyone listening is like, "That's wrong," then sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's a concept in magic, and a servitor is basically this something that you create. So for if we use the cartoon like drawings, these drawings right here on the screen right now as an example, that is something that is coming from you that is serving a purpose. Right now the purpose is to entertain, to like have something on the screen. But then it becomes an egregore when what you have created no longer needs you to continue. So, like, for example, people who create an animated TV show, like at some
Memes.
point that, and memes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
at some
Mm-hmm.
point, those memes are no longer tied to you. They become like part of the global
Collective, yeah.
consciousness,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
collective.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
correct. And so it's just like this concept that that you use in magic when you are trying to like create your goals. It doesn't always have to be like something like this, like a cartoon, but like I guess, I don't know. I wonder if a vision board would be considered a servitor because it is serving the purpose of helping you like achieve your goal. Wait, why did I bring this up though? But yeah, I mean, like there's like all of these like concepts, and that like there's like I feel like there's something identical to that idea in like all these other belief systems, but like the idea that a thought can turn into something real into the world. Like this, what you're drawing right now, like that did not exist before. It is coming from your hand and now it exists in the world. Like,
You know what's funny? I relate to what you're saying a lot just because like I was hanging out with a friend like a couple months ago, and I was just like I was really bummed out because I was like pitching a bunch of stuff and things in animations are just kind of weird right now, and I was just like, I'm just trying to pitch, I'm trying to communicate this idea, and then ideas get turned down, and I just get really bummed out because I feel like these characters I've spent time with, I've created that are kind of like real for me. Now I need somebody else to help me like turn them, like make them alive, but
yeah.
then like they don't believe in them enough, so the characters are they're kind of like dying in a sort of way, or at least in that way I thought I was gonna. and
You feel
and
like
I was
you're
like, it's just
mourning
gonna like,
them.
yeah, and you're mourning the characters, and there's like and then there was that feeling that, for example, I have a webcomic and like the characters now are like beloved enough by the audience that I feel like they have a life of their own. I feel like they're real. Like they're still part of me, but they're like they're like their own selves. They're like their own entities.
So when you have to end it, do you feel like you're gonna mourn them?
No, because I feel like they still, it's kind of like the meme. It'll keep existing. Like they're gonna have had a life. They're gonna have lived and they exist. And I feel like
so are ghosts memes that people are rewatching? They're reruns of people that somebody's watching somewhere.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor. Metaphor? Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. I love that. Yeah.
Ghosts are memes.
Ghosts are meme videos that people are rewatching somewhere, and whenever you see them, it's either you or someone else is watching this replay on a saved video of a human or something.
That's what happens when too many people watch The Island Boys and they show up at your house at midnight. Yeah,
dude, every time I see a ghost, there's always, that's why impact font is above them saying some funny words.
I love it.
It's so funny. It's so interesting.
This is I feel like this is a very interesting conversation for this pod. It's very different than the conversations that we normally have, but I love it because we've also tied it into making art and like the importance of that and like it being a thing that, you know, you're taking your reality and your emotions and trying to communicate it with somebody else through a thing that you made. And like, what is that? Is that real? Is that, you know, did you make a ghost in someone else's dimension? I don't know.
Like what is real?
Yeah, that's really cool. I agree. I think like it's like there's a part of reality that is subjective for real.
Yeah.
You know?
Objective or subjective?
Subjective. Because there's a part that is objective, which is the part where it's like where science comes in, where it's like this, I measured a gram of salt, and you know, like it's kind of hard to
there's
dispute.
10 liters of ghosts in this house. I measured it.
Oh my god.
But by the way, I drew the when I woke my partner up, I drew how I looked at her. I was rubbing my fingers together, almost like that little heart thing that people do in videos now.
Oh, I see.
But I was rubbing my fingers together, and I was just looking like that. Like I don't know whether I'm like pay
horrifying.
Up. Am I like pay up? You gotta put the pennies on your eyes for Sharon or whatever. You know.
That's so funny.
Wow.
Chiron? I don't know.
Oh, the Chiron,
Chiron, the ferry, the ferryman on the river Styx. That's why they used to put coins on their eyes when they died to grant them safe passage across the river Styx.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, I was trying to think of how his name was pronounced. Either way, that has nothing to do with drawing.
Do you guys want to go into some fun questions from our patron, Beat Linsbea? What's the spookiest thing that you have ever experienced?
Okay. I have a story that I have said on like every podcast. So I'm like, do I say that one or do I say something else?
Ooh.
Well, maybe it's your second scariest or something.
Let me think. I'm trying to think of a fun one because that one's kind of long. I have like a cool thing that happened during filming.
Let's do a cool one.
But okay,
this one's not. Some
spooky,
people are scared by cool stuff, so I don't know.
Actually, no. I'll go with the actual spooky one. I'll do the truncated version because it's long. But this is around the time when I started really going hardcore, trying to like open my third eye. I was like, I want to see a ghost. I need to prove it to myself. And so I did a bunch of stuff, including like ordering this like third eye spell from this witch. I was like getting clearings. I was meditating all the time. And then there was like a full moon night, and I was having like a really hard time sleeping. And then like once I finally got to sleep, I had this really vivid dream where I was at my grandma's house. And then I was walking around the house. It looked exactly like her house. But then when I walked into the bathroom, it didn't look like her bathroom anymore. And I was walking around looking at everything. And I was like, I don't understand what I'm looking at. And then I look on the ground, and there's this woman face down with her long black hair sort of just like all over the floor like that. And she was completely naked and completely still. And I knew that she was dead. And in the dream, I immediately was like, oh, no. Please don't tell me what happened. Please don't tell me what happened. I'm not ready. Because like I knew, I was like, oh, this is a dead woman showing me something, and I'm not ready for this. I started freaking out, and I was like, okay, I need to wake up. So I was like scrambling, trying to like wake myself up. I wake up in my bedroom, and I know for a fact I am awake. I hear a woman's voice humming in my bedroom right above me. And it goes on long enough for me to like remember the melody. And I'm laying there thinking like, there's no fucking way. Like it was right here. It wasn't like my neighbors. This is back when I still lived in like a fourplex. It went on, and I just laid there, and I was just like, what the fuck? And I didn't want to move because I didn't want whoever was there to know that I was awake. So I just like laid completely still, and I didn't go to sleep the rest of the night. And I kept hearing like these distant like Gregorian chanting kind of sounds, and I heard like distant drumming, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm just that kind of stuff was like sleep paralysis, more like noises, but the humming was for real. Like I know for a fact I was awake. And
do you remember the melody?
Yeah. I don't want to hum it right now. Yeah, it always like creeps me out.
Are you scared? Are you scared to hum it? Like you'll summon her. She'll hear you. She's like, you talking shit. You talking shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to hum it.
Okay.
But like, it's really creepy.
I'm just gonna hum a bunch of different things, and you just say yes or no. I just like hum like every song that I've ever.
Every song ever. I will say though, I believe that what I heard was part of the Dies Irae, if you're familiar with that. No. It is literally the Song of the Dead. And it's, I don't know who wrote it. I think it's just like a really, really old song.
Song of the Dead, Song of the Dead, Song.
No, you've heard parts of it, like the Dies Irae, like the da-na-na-na, like that particular melody is in like a lot of songs related to death. But yeah, so it creeped the hell out of me.
Dang.
So I think that
so
was
scary.
The spookiest thing. Yeah.
That's really scary.
I still don't know who she is. I have a couple theories. Some people think it was a dead woman trying to show me her death, and I was like, no.
So do you ever think you'll get to a point where if someone's trying to show you something and you are trying to prove to yourself that, you know, it's a real thing and actually communicate with these spirits, do you think you'll ever get to a point where you're like, I'm ready to either help somebody move on or whatever they need, or do you feel like when you came out of that, did you feel like you were like, oh, I was so ready, like I was ready to like go through with it, and then like do you feel like a what if, like what if I had like followed through, like did I miss out on something important that like, you know?
I do feel like I kind of regret not just opening my eyes and being like, who is that? You know, like, because I kept my eyes closed, and I had an eye mask on too, so I didn't want to move my hand to like move it down. I could have, but I didn't want to.
Even in the dream when you felt like somebody was trying to tell you something.
Yeah. I think I am at that place because like after that, I stopped everything. I was just like, no. It scared me so much that I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And then like after a month, I calmed down, and everyone's like when people told me their theories of what it was, I was like, you know what? Like, she didn't hurt me. It could have been like an ancestor comforting me during this like nightmare. So like, I was like, yeah, it was probably fine. And then I was like, oh, I want it to happen again. So like, I've been like trying to like get her to come again, but she hasn't. But there have been like times where I've had other dreams since then where I am interacting with like the stuff that I'm
Okay.
seeing. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow, that's like, yeah. I would be too spooked to ever think about it ever again.
It was spooky.
I think it's like, is it? I saw also on your website that you're kind of trying to bring a little bit more diversity in the paranormal. It's usually kind of like a little bit more of like a white space, white like folklore and whatever. What's your philosophy on that? How do you kind of like approach that? Yeah.
Yeah. So with the stories that I choose to share on my podcast, I always try to make sure that they're coming from like a diverse set of backgrounds. I know it's like kind of hard to like tell, but usually people do say like, oh, hey, like I'm from the Philippines, or like I'm from this place, or like whatever. So I like to make sure that that is very diverse. A lot of the people who listen are from the Philippines, so a lot of it is Filipino. And yeah, and like even with like my YouTube channel, like all of the characters are created by me, so I can make them look however I want them to look. Yeah, I feel like there's just like the horror and especially the paranormal reality space, it's all very dominated by like white men. And it's I think a huge part of that actually is because this is gonna sound like a lot of brown people are not going to be running into houses like looking for ghosts, partially because of like out of respect. There's like that's the other thing. It's like I'm talking specifically about like paranormal reality TV. What is popular, in my opinion, is not very respectful.
It's like going into a haunted house and like challenging the ghost to a fist fight and stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's just like I personally don't vibe with that, and I know that a lot of like people who are not white do not vibe with that. And it's just like the landscape is very kind of, yeah, it's just a little disrespectful, a little misunderstood. And so like one of my goals is to just like make the landscape more empathetic, more diverse. That way more people of color are more comfortable wanting to be a part of this space instead of looking at it and being like, this is so wrong, or this is so like corny, or incorrect. But yeah, that's sort of like where I come at it. So like with Ghost Town Terror, the show that I was on, like I was the only person of color like in the main cast. So like at every opportunity I had, I would try to sneak in, you know, just like I was try to connect it back to like what I know about Filipino culture, or like little bits of history that I knew, and like all of that shit got cut. And I get it, like, you know, if it didn't like, it wasn't like, you know, important to them, they didn't include it. But I was like, God damn. I'm like, anyways.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I don't know if you can answer this question, but like personally, I've talked sometimes to
what?
I just saw the drawing.
The drawing of the girl on the floor, and you
trip. She looks so cute. She was like so much sadder because like her face, she was like face down and like naked. It was scary. It was really scary.
Yeah.
But that looks like a little doll.
Yeah, it's like so a little
cute.
Funko Pop.
Yeah.
Well,
very cute.
I'll draw one here.
I was
continue
gonna
your story.
ask, you know, like
sorry, continue.
No, you're good.
I've talked a couple times like in like Ubers, because like the driver will be like, I'll be like, oh, what'd you do? Blah blah blah. And a couple of times I've like encountered someone that was like a producer on a reality TV or like a writer on a reality TV. And I was like, you guys have writers on reality TV? And they're like, yes, we do. And I wonder do you feel like they were kind of like telling you guys like leading you guys a little bit in a direction that they kind of wanted on the shows, or do you feel like they were just like, do your thing, we're just filming? And it's okay if you don't want to answer.
Let me answer it, and then if I don't want it released, I'll take it back.
Sure.
Okay.
But let me try to answer it.
Okay.
I will say this. No one's going to invest a lot of money into seeing what happens. But with that, I'm not saying that stuff is staged. What I'm saying is that the showrunner and the EPs, they have to have some type of idea of what they think will happen. And that way, the upper, you know what I mean, the higher ups, they have some idea of like how it could play out, but with the complete understanding that things will not go that way. And so with that in mind, they have their idea. We go in with this idea, but then it's open-ended because like the stuff that we'll find, the stuff that will happen, like we play a huge role in like how everything plays out. So it's kind of like a mix of two things. Yeah, you can keep that. That's fine.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. Because I feel like, I mean, some reality TV shows, it's like so obvious that they're like kind of like rehearsed, or like it's very planned, like, or like there's like a specific set of events that need to happen. But I feel like for something like the shows you've been on, it feels a lot more like free form and like it kind of like real, right? It's like, ooh, let's just go to a place and see what happens. So I think
yeah.
I want to, okay, this is a spicy question.
Yes, I love spice.
Do you have any thoughts on big name Hollywood, like medium type personality?
Here's what I'll say. I'm not gonna target anyone specifically. I will speak very broadly. So, from what I am told, I've spoken to a lot of different psychics and mediums, empathic people who, whether or not that part of them is their livelihood, because I've met people who they say culturally they're not supposed to take money for this, or their gift will be taken away. And then other cultures, they're like, you need to be getting something because this you're offering work. You need something in exchange. So it depends on the culture and the background that you're from. However, all of the people I have spoken to, almost all of them offer some type of course or mentorship. Like they are actively teaching other people how to tap into their gifts because they understand and they know that this is something that anyone can learn. It is something available to everyone. They themselves, they're not special just because it comes more naturally to them. It is a gift that like everyone can tap into, just like drawing.
So
like
you're coming for the people that are like out here who have like, I have a secret gift and it's only me and I have a special thing. That's who you're trying to
exactly.
Yeah.
Because that is, because then you're using your gift to like in a very self-centered way. So here's the thing, I don't really watch all those shows like with the big like Hollywood psychic mediums. I haven't watched it, so I don't know how they are. So I understand that I'm totally just like I'm not like basing this off of anything. This is just like my gut feeling. But so I don't know if they like do this in the show, but it's like when the whole point of the show is to show like how amazing it is that you have this gift. To me, I get really suspicious of that because like all of the people that I've talked to, they're not in the spotlight because they're not actively seeking it out. What really matters is helping people. And I will say that like and I'm not saying, because I've worked with mediums on TV, but like I'm not saying that everyone who does it on TV is just in it for the spotlight or the money. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it is a little bit weird though. And I would love to like hear from them, like why they feel like it's not, what's the word I'm looking for? Like fuck, damn it.
Yeah,
Edit this to make me sound
if you're
smart.
listen, if you're a psychic medium from Hollywood who's gotten an hour and a half through this drawing podcast, and you're listening, and you're like, Sapphire, I should have known. I should have known, you know?
No, I mean, okay.
I'm just joking.
Okay.
I'm joking.
You never know. I don't know. Like sometimes
you do
people
never know.
are weird.
You're right.
I don't know. What if one of your listeners is like, I'm gonna clip this, and then they like put it on the internet, and then like freaking Teresa Caputo comes after me.
Our
Or something.
listeners
Like,
don't
I don't
have
know.
the internet.
Our listeners listen to us on the radio.
Yeah.
Wait. Let me end that on like a not negative
Sure.
note.
Sure.
So I have never. Okay, I will say I've never met any of the like really, really big name psychic mediums, so I can't like accurately judge like how they operate and what they do. But I will say that the most legit people I've ever met are the ones who are not in the spotlight and the ones who are more concerned with like actively helping people.
Mm-hmm.
But in that, you could, I don't know. See, that's the thing. It's like, it is hard. I was like, with anything in entertainment, entertainment comes first. So
Yeah.
I am
You also
a little
don't know
bit
what they cut
skeptical.
out. You don't know if they tried to say
Exactly.
a responsible thing and then that
Yeah.
got cut off. And so, yeah. So,
You never know.
what would it take? What would a spirit have to do in order for you to challenge them to a fight like Zach Bagans?
Oh my god! What would wait? Like
What kind of buttons would this Jost need to push in order for you to try to fist fight a ghost like Zach Bagans would?
Well, so here's the other thing. Like one way for you to like protect yourself from any entities that are like trying to harm you is to like, you have to like act bigger, be louder, make a lot of noise, scream at them, and then let them know that like they're not allowed to like enter your space or like invade your energy. But that's if something has already made the decision to be aggressive towards you. Because what happens with like ghost adventures is like they go in guns blazing, screaming at things that like you don't like. Why are you antagonizing something that's kind of just like chilling here right now?
My favorite thing is when they do that and then one noise happens and they all scream and run away and they don't get anything on camera. That's my favorite part.
I know, it's like, isn't this what you wanted?
Like, yeah, I thought you wanted them specifically to like like, scratch me. You like to scratch innocent women on the back? Scratch me, I dare you. And then like like a can gets knocked over in the background and they all like and they like run. My other favorite so guilty pleasure. I love that show, but
it's a fun show.
But I love how he'll just go into a situation and then like 20 minutes in he's possessed and he's running around the crypt and they're like, we gotta find him. Where is Zach? He's making noises. He's running around. He's naked. He's running around. We gotta catch this little rascal. I just love this like muscly guy who like goes in and tries to fight ghosts and just like keeps getting possessed and keeps like he lost some of his vision because of a ghost. I heard he gave him an astigmatism or something, and like,
oh god,
or that's what I've heard. But not to I don't mean to start too much beef against. I guess, do you consider him your peer, your coworker?
I mean, just from the sheer fact we're both in paranormal reality, so yeah.
It's so funny. It's so interesting. It's so interesting.
Maybe if listening back to this, it sounds like we're beefing. Can you cut it out?
Yeah, I have other questions from them.
Okay. I want to say
yes,
that all of these things are coming from me, not from Sapphire at all. And I just want to say, if Zach Bagans wants to beef with me about ghosts, dude, I honestly, I also love him. So like, if he wants to, if he wants to storm into my house and yell like, try to fight me as if I was a ghost, then like that sounds like a crazy experience for me. So,
Yeah.
I have
nah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just like fucking crashing your ghost hunter career by just like,
Oh my
just, like,
god.
starting beefs. I'm so sorry.
I know. It's okay.
From our patron, Joe Benson. It's kind of an interesting question. Okay, so this is like a little scenario. So get ready. If I were sleeping on my back, woke up in the dark, and saw a shadowy figure with their hands over my legs, I scream and kick up. They fall backwards down with my covers. I turn on my ceiling light, and they're gone. Who should I have called?
Oh, did this happen to them?
I don't know, but let's pretend that it did.
Okay.
And is this a setup for calling the Ghostbusters, and that's the joke?
No.
Or is this a serious, or is this like an
If it
actually
were,
what should I do?
Let's say that let's just do the joke. Ghostbusters, and now we're treating it seriously.
Okay, now we're treating it serious.
Now I want to know.
Now,
like,
now what should he do if he feels like he has a presence?
Okay. So this is what I usually tell people. If something happens once, it's probably nothing to worry about. It only becomes a concern if it happens a bunch and it starts to interfere with your life. So for you, for example, Sean, like your waking dreams, like if you think it's not interfering with your life, then cool, whatever, right? But something isn't only a problem if you really feel like it's causing a problem. So if this only happens once, like my instinct is that like it could easily have been a case of like sleep paralysis or like a weird dream. But I also understand that like shadow figures can appear in your dream, and that's the way that you see them. Like that's sort of how I have seen them, where they like appear in my dream, or like kind of like Sean, like your waking dreams, but it's never me walking around. It's me still in my bed and I can see stuff in my room. And so that's my initial reaction is like, it sounds like it was a one-time thing, could have been a nightmare. If it continues to happen, then I believe shadow figures are kind of easier to get rid of than like other stuff. So here's the thing though, shadow figures, they tend to manifest when there is unresolved trauma. So you'll hear stories of people who are followed by shadow figures like since childhood, or people will start experiencing them if they like need to leave an abusive partner or like, something like that. Like that's how they manifest. So like if you look at your life and you think like there's anything that's like unresolved that you've been ignoring, try like looking into that first. So like I would suggest like, I don't know, I mean I suggest therapy for like everyone, like everyone should be in therapy, but like that's a step. If again, this is if
Dude,
it
what if that was part
like,
of the plot of Exorcist, is they were just like, listen, we're gonna try just go to therapy and is there anything you're feeling depressed about? And like, and that just got rid of it. The ghost was like, oh. the demon was like, it's like I can't.
I think it would be like an interesting plot though if it's like someone who's like actually being followed by entities, but everyone's just like, just go see a therapist, and then the therapist get like roped into it, and they're like, no, but like because of my PhD, I don't believe in this, but it's like still happening. I don't know. I think it's fun. I love these kind
I think that's a horror movie. I think that exists. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've seen that.
Yeah. And then the therapist is like, I have to call an exorcist, but I'm a therapist and I can't do this because it's against my philosophy.
My beliefs.
Yeah.
I'm a therapist exorcist, but I'm a therapist.
Ooh.
What? Just someone who's a therapist for ghosts.
Sixth Sense?
Yeah.
Isn't that what the plot was?
Therapy for ghosts?
Well, I mean, he didn't know. Oh, sorry. Spoiler alert.
It's okay. It's still a good movie.
I mean, listen. If you haven't seen that, it's been out for. You had a long time to see it, guys.
That's on you. That's on you if you haven't seen that movie yet.
I feel like we probably have listeners who, were born after Sixth Sense came out.
You're
And so they
right.
probably maybe don't know about Sixth Sense that much because it was such a hit for us. But then for
Right.
them, they're like, what's that movie?
What are you, a dork? You're young? Oh, anyone who's young is a dork.
No, I feel like
No,
I'm just saying.
No.
Anyway.
It's very true. If you want to see, probably the best example of an M. Night Shyamalan twist in a movie. I'm not going to say the twist, but it is a movie about essentially like a kid who is sort of having to do ghost therapy. Like in order to get the ghosts to leave him alone, he has to help them resolve their issues. And I do think that sort of ghost therapist is, in general, it's kind of an interesting way to view. I don't know. At least in a movie sense, I guess.
I mean, that's all really ghosts. I mean, when you look at like every ghost story, it really, I mean, like, you know, the definition of a ghost, I think in like pop culture is like people who have unresolved business and they only cross over if they finish their business. And I feel like that speaks a lot to like how we view people and like our life. Like we want to believe that like even if we die, we can still have peace if we don't die before that happens. And I think that's all it really like stems from. I don't know.
I like that. Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I think that's very true. From our patron Katie, tips for writing supernatural stories.
Ooh, dabble in some occult shit. Because it will like give you so much inspiration that you won't even know what to do with. But I like the like actually participating in like magic and like doing stuff has like given me so much inspiration. So that would be tip number 1. Yeah, no, that's my tip.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's great. Yeah. Yeah, that's so fun. That's so great. Yeah, I feel like like you said, like kind of doing the research is just such a fun way to find inspiration.
And that's with anything you're writing too. That's just like if you just know the material, like, or know experiences, or even talk to somebody who has a real story, or read scary story, like all of that is like research, and it'll help ideas come. You know,
you write what you know, so understand the supernatural, and then you'll get ideas all the time.
I love that. I think that's really great.
Make yourself big?
I think you said that when you were talking about fighting ghosts. This is you.
Oh, okay. I thought I was like you were saying that I was telling the ghosts to make themselves big.
Oh,
and
that's what
really
confused.
Yeah.
I'll put I gotta make myself big. So maybe I'll change it.
Cute. Oh, I love the little ghost butt.
That's very cute.
Like one of them has like defined cheeks. I love it.
So cute. That was really fun. I love that we got to talk about like being in the industry, having an indie channel, doing some reality TV, and like the different paths in entertainment, and like that you get to write and create your own stories. I think that's really, really cool.
Do you have anything for us to watch out for? Is there anything coming out of yours that, or do you know, or you do not know?
Not really. When does this come out?
I think we're thinking like Clem, you can cut this out, but this is probably gonna come
Leave
out
it
in a month from now.
Okay.
A month and a half.
So by then I will have started doing new videos and new podcasts. So if you want to check out my channel, it's there's new episodes every Wednesday, but it alternates. It'll be an animated video one Wednesday and then a podcast the next Wednesday. So my channel's youtube.com/Sapphire Sandalo. And then Stories with Sapphire is the name of the podcast, and you can listen to it anywhere
you get your podcast.
as far as shows where people can check you out, what shows are out there that on was it on Discovery or Travel Channel?
Yeah, Discovery Plus and Travel Channel. I'm on Paranormal Caught on Camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's a clip show. We watch a bunch of like submitted videos of people who believe they've caught something paranormal caught on camera. And then Ghost Town Terror first season is also on Discovery Plus and Travel Channel.
It's so good, dude. I love that.
I'm so glad you like it. And then I'm also on another show called Paranormal Night Shift. That one's also, I believe, on Discovery Plus app. And it's another. No, that's not a clip show. That's people. It's like a reenactment show. So someone will tell their story of like something paranormal that happened to them while they were working the night shift, and then they have like some experts come in to like talk about the story, and I'm one of those experts.
That is so cool.
So that's where you can find me.
That is so cool. Well, with all of these other places you can find Sapphire at, make sure you check them all out. And that is the end of this creative block.
Yay!
Sapphire, thanks for being our guest and sharing your story.
And thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thanks to our listeners too, as well as Sapphire. I'm going to say thank you to Sapphire again because I very much appreciate her. Follow us on Twitter at CRTV Block, where we ask for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to our editor Clements for editing this podcast and being an ever-listening, omnipresent force both in and outside of the podcast that I can look up to and clasp my hands together in prayer and say, Clem, if you please would edit out this mistake from my life, that would be appreciated. And then it's just gone and I don't have to worry about it. And also thank you for Marco produce the show.
If you love our show, then support us on Patreon. Becoming a patron gets you early access to interviews as well as bonus episodes. Click the link in the description of this episode. I have been your host, V.
And I was, and forever will be Sean. Keep being creative, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.